Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. The reciters for tonight are dear Nitai, he is going to recite in English, and Pragna Mataji will be reciting in Sanskrit. Pragna Mataji, whenever you are ready, can you please start with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya invocation? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, verses 19 to 36. Dharmah uvacha kachit bhadre namayam atmanaste vichayasi mlayate shanmukhen alakshaye bhavatim antaradhim dure bandhum shochasi kanchanamba.
Dharma, the form of Abu, asked, Madam, are you not hale and hearty? Why are you covered with the shadow of grief? It appears by your face that you have become black. Are you suffering from some internal disease, or are you thinking of some relatives who is away in a distant place?
Padai nyunam shochasi mekapadam amatmanam vavrishale bhoksyamanam aho suradin yatagya bhagan praja uttasamindvatya varshati.
I have lost my three legs and am now standing on one only. Are you lamenting for my state of existence, or are you in great anxiety because henceforward the unlawful meat eaters will exploit you? Or are you in a sorry plight because the demigods are now grieved of their share of sacrificial offerings because no sacrifices are being performed at present? Or are you grieving for the living beings because of their suffering due to famine and drought?
Arakshyamanah striya urvibalan शोचस्यथो पुरुषादेरिवातान् वाचं देवीं ब्रह्मकुले कुकर्मन् यब्रह्मण्ये राजकुले कुलाग्रयान्.
Are you feeling compunction for the unhappy women and children who are who are left forlorn by unsculpturous persons? Or are you unhappy because the goddess of learning is being handled by Brahmanas addicted to acts against the principles of religion? Or are you sorry to see that the Brahmanas have taken shelter of administrative families that do not respect Brahminical culture?
Kim Shatrabandhun Kalinospassृष्टान् Rashtrani Tairavropitani Itastato Vashanapanavasah Snanavyavayo Mukhajivalokam.
Um, the so-called administrator are now bewildered by the influence of this age Kali, and thus they have brought all state offers into disorder, and you are now limiting this order. Now the general population does not follow the rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, etc. And they are inclined to perform such anywhere and everywhere. Are you unhappy because of this?
Yadvambate bhuri bhuri bharavatara कृतावतरास्य हरे धरित्वी अंतर्हितस्य स्मरति विसृष्टा कर्माणि निर्वाण विलंबितानि.
O Mother Earth, Supreme Personality of Godhead, reincarnated as Lord Sri Krishna, just to unload your heavy burden. All these activities here are transcendental, and they cement the path of liberation. You are now free of his presence, and you are properly now thinking of those activities and feeling sorry in their absence.
इदं ममाचक्ष्वतवादिमूलं वसुन्धरे येन विकर्षितासि कालेन वाते बलिनां बलीयसा सूरार्चितं किं हतं मम सौभगम्.
Mother, you are the reservoir of all riches. Please inform me of the root cause of your tribulations by which you have been reduced to such a weak state. And I think that the powerful influence of time, which conquers the most powerful, might have possibly taken away all your fortune, which was adored even by the demigods.
धरणि उवाच भवान् हि वेद तत्स्वरम् यन्माधर्मानुपृच्छसि चतुर्भिर्वतर्सेयेन पादै लोकसुखावहे.
The earthly deity in the form of a cow thus replied to the personality of religious principles in the form of a bull or dharma. Whatever you have inquired from me shall be known to you. I shall try to replay all of those questions once you two were maintained by 4 legs, and you increase happiness all over the universe by the mercy of the Lord.
सत्यं शौचं दया क्षान्ति त्यागः सन्तोष आर्जवम् शमोदमस्तपः साम्यं तितिक्षोपरतिः श्रुतम् ज्ञानं विरक्तैश्वर्यं शौर्यं तेजो बलं स्मृतिः स्वातन्त्र्यं कौशलं कान्तिः धैर्यं मार्दवमेव च प्रागल्भ्यं प्रश्रयः शीलं तः ओजो बलं भगः गाम्भीर्यस्थैर्यमास्तिक्यं कीर्तिर्मानो अनहं कृतिः एते चान्ये च भगवन् नित्या यत्र महागुणः प्रार्थ्या महत्त्वमिच्छद्दिभिर्न वियन्ति स्म कहिचित् तेनाहं गुणपात्रेण श्रीनिवासेन साम्प्रतं शोचामि रहितं लोकम् Papmana Kalinekshitam.
In him reside 1. Truthfulness, 2. Cleanliness, 3. Intolerance of another unhappiness, 4. The power to control anger, 5. Self-satisfaction, 6. Straightforwardness, 7. Steadiness of mind, 8. Control of the sense organs, 9. Responsibility, 10. Equality, 11. Tolerance, 12. Equanimity, 13. Faithfulness, 14. Knowledge, 15. Absence of sense enjoyment. 16. Leadership. 17. Chivalry. 18. Influence. 19. The power to make everything possible. 20. The discharge of duty. 21. Complete independence. 22. Dexterity. 23. Fullness of all beauty. 24. Serenity. 25. Kind-heartedness. 26. Ingenuity. 27. Gentility. 28. 28. Magnanimity. 29. Determination. 30. Perfection in all knowledge. 31. Proper execution. 32. Possession of all objects of enjoyment. 33. Joyfulness. 34. Immovability. And many, no, 35. Fidelity. 36. Fame. 37. Worship. 38. Pridelessness. 39. Being as the personality of Godhead. 40. Eternity and many other transcendental qualities um which are eternally present and never to be separated from him. That is the personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all goodness and beauty. Lord Sri Krishna has now caused his transcendental pastimes on the face of the earth. In his absence, the age of Kali has spread its influence everywhere. So I am sorry to see this condition of existence.
Atmanam chanushocami bhavantam chamarottamam devan pitrun rushin sadhun sarvan varnastasthasraman.
I'm thinking about myself and also all best amongst the demigods. Well, you as well as is about all the demigods, sages, denizens of Loka, devotees of the Lord, and all men obedient to the system of Varna and Asarvama in human society.
Brahmadayo bahutitham yadapaga kamastapah samacharan bhagavatat prapannaha sasrihi swavasa maravind vanam vihaya yatpadasobhamangalam bhajate nurakta tasyaham कुलिशाकुश केतुकेतेः श्रीमत्पदे भगवतः कमलकृताङ्गे त्रिणत्यरोच उपलभ्य ततो विभूतिं लोकान् समां व्यसृज्य दुःसमयतिं तदन्ते.
Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, whose glance of grace was sought by demigods like Brahma, and for whom they surrendered in many a day unto the personality of Godhead. Gave up her own abode in the forest of lotus flowers and engaged herself in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. I was endowed with specific powers to supersede the fortune of all the three planetary systems by being decorated with the impressions of the flag, thunderbolt, elephant, dragon, rod, lotus flower, which are signs of the lotus feet of the Lord. But at the end, when I felt I was so fortunate, the Lord left me.
यो वै ममाति परम आसुर वंशराज्ञाम् अक्षौहिणी शतमपानुददात्म तन्त्रः त्वां दुस्थ मुन पदमात्मनि पौरुषेण सम्पदायन यदुषु रम्यम प्रिदमगम.
Personality of religion, I was greatly overburdened by the undue military phalanxes arranged by aesthetics king, and I was relieved by the grace of the personality of Godhead. Similarly, you were also in a distressed condition, weakened in your standing strength, and thus he also incarnated by his internal energy, the family of the Yadus to relieve you.
खावासहेतविरहं पुरुषोत्तमस्य प्रेमावलोकरुचिरी वल्गुजल्पैः धैर्य समानमहरन् मद्दुमानिनां रोमोत्सवो मम यत् अन्धि विटङ्कितायाः.
Who therefore can tolerate the pangs of separation from the supreme personality of Godhead? Ye can conquer the gravity and passionate wrath of his sweetheart's light, Satyabhama, by a sweet smile of love, pleasing glance, and hearty appeals. When he traversed my earth's surface, I would be immersed in the dust of his lotus feet, and thus would be subtilously covered with grass, which appeared like hair standing on me out of pleasure.
तयोरेवं कथयतुः पृथिवी धर्मयोस्तदा परीक्षेणां राजर्षिः प्राप्तः प्राचीं सरस्वतीम्.
While the earth and personality of religion were thus engaged in conversation, the saintly king Parikshit reached the shore of the Saraswati River, which flowed towards the east.
Hare Krishna. Sorry for all the mistakes I made. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, we finished reciting.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji, for the wonderful recitation. Thank you. And thank you, Nitai, dear Nitai, as well. Thank you for the good, beautiful recitation in English. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you can start class now. Hare Krishna, am I audible?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji. But we can't see you.
Okay, let me see if I can do the camera. Sorry, I got a new thing here.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
we can see you now. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. You can share your screen as well. You're the host now.
Sure. Thank you so much. Let me share the screen. One moment. One. Yes, here's my screen. Before I'd like to start, I'd like to thank everybody on the call for the opportunity for being able to speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the king of all scriptures. And I'd like to seek the devotees' blessings that I may share something of relevance and share something that is truthful and pleasing to the devotees. We'll first start with Mangalacharan, which is the traditional way of starting any recitation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udhirayet Nashtaprayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yatkripatamaham bande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, Text 21 through 22. So very nice recitation and translation reading by the devotees who were reading before. We'll just say the Sanskrit of these two verses, and then we'll look at the translation and purport of each verse, if that's okay. Please correct me if I'm doing anything incorrectly in terms of format as well. Text 21. Arakshyamana striya urvi balan shochasyato purushader ivartan Vacham devim brahma kule kukaramanya brahmanye rajakule kulagriyan Arakshyamana striya urvibhalan shochasyato purushader ivartan Vacham devim brahma kule kukarmanya Brahmane Rajakule Kulagriyan. Word synonyms. Arakshamana, unprotected. Striya, women. Urvi, on the earth. Balan, children. Shochasi, you are feeling compassion. Atho, as such. Purusha adhai, by cannibals, rakshasas. Iva, like that. Arthan, those who are unhappy. Bacham, vocabulary. Devim, the goddess. Brahma Kule, in the family of the Brahmana. Kukarmani, acts against the principles of religion. Abrahmanye, persons against the Brahminical culture. Raja Kule, in the administrative family. Kula Agryan, most of all the families, the Brahmanas. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Are you feeling compunction for the unhappy women and children who are left forlorn by unscrupulous persons? Or are you unhappy because the goddess of learning is being handled by Brahmanas addicted to acts against the principles of religion? Or are you sorry to see the Brahmanas have taken shelter of administrative families that do not respect Brahminical culture? Purport. In the age of Kali, the women and children, along with the Brahmanas and cows, will be grossly neglected and left unprotected. In this age, illicit connection with women will render many women and children uncared for. Circumstantially, the women will try to become independent of the protection of men, and marriage will be performed as a matter of formal agreement between man and woman. In most cases, the children will not be taken care of properly. The Brahmanas are traditionally intelligent men, and thus they will be able to pick up modern education to the topmost rank. But as far as moral and religious principles are concerned, they shall be the most fallen. Education and bad character go ill together, but such things will run parallel. The administrative heads as a class will condemn the tenets of Vedic wisdom and will prefer to conduct a so-called secular state, and the so-called educated Brahmanas will be purchased by unscrupulous administrators. Even a philosopher and writer of many books on religious principles may also accept an exalted post in a government which denies all the moral codes of the Shastras. The Brahmanas are specifically restricted from accepting such service, but in this age, they will not only accept service, but they will do so even if it is of the meanest quality. These are some of the symptoms of the Kali age, which are harmful to the general welfare of human society. Text 22. Kim Kshatra Bandhun Kalino Pashishtan Rastrani Vater Avaropitani Itastato Vashanapani Vashaha Snana Vyavayun Mukha Jiva Lokam. Synonyms: Kim, weather; Kshatra Bandhun, the unworthy administrators; Kalina, by the influence of the age of Kali; Upashrishtan, bewildered; Rastrani, state affairs; Va, or Te, by them; Avaropitani, put into disorder; Ita, here; Tatha, there; Va, or Asana, accepting foodstuff; Pana, drink; Vasaha, residence; Snana, bath; Vyavaya, sexual intercourse; Unmukha, inclined; Jiva Lokam, human society. Translation: the so-called administrators are now bewildered by the influence of this age of Kali, and thus they have put all state affairs into disorder. Are you now lamenting this disorder? Now the general populace does not follow the rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, etc., and they're inclined to perform such anywhere and everywhere. Are you unhappy because of this? Purport. There are some necessities of life on a par with those of the lower animals, and they are eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. These body demands are for both the human beings and the animals. But the human being has to fulfill such desires, not like animals, but like a human being. A dog can mate with a bitch before the public eyes without hesitation, but if a human being does so, the act will be considered a public nuisance, and the person will be criminally prosecuted. Therefore, for the human beings, there are some rules and regulations, even for fulfilling common demands. The human society avoids such rules and regulations when it is bewildered by the influence of the age of Kali. In this age, people are indulging in such necessities of life without following the rules and regulations. And this deterioration of social and moral rules is certainly lamentable because of the harmful effects of such beastly behavior. In this age, the fathers and the guardians are not happy with the behavior of their wards. They should know that so many innocent children are victims of bad association awarded by the influence of Kali, of this age of Kali. We know from Srimad Bhagavatam that Ajamil, an innocent son of Brahmana, was walking down a road and saw a Shudra pair sexually embracing. This attracted the boy, and later on the boy became a victim of all debaucheries. From a pure Brahmana, he fell down to the position of a wretched urchin. and it was all due to bad association. There was but one victim like Ajamil in those days. But in this age of Kali, the poor innocent students are daily victims of cinemas, which attract men only for sex indulgence. The so-called administrators are untrained in the affairs of a Kshatriya. The Kshatriyas are meant for administration, as the Brahmanas are meant for knowledge and guidance. The word Kshatra Bandhu refers to the so-called administrators or persons promoted to the post of the administrator without the proper training by culture and tradition. Nowadays, they are promoted to such exalted posts by the votes of the people who are themselves fallen in the rules and regulations of life. How can such people select a proper man when they are themselves fallen in this standard of life? Therefore, by the influence of the age of Kali everywhere, politically, socially, or religiously, everything is topsy-turvy, and therefore, for the sane man, it is all regrettable. Hare Krishna. 1 second, let me just turn on the light so I can see all the pages. Yes. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Very nice verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Very sobering verses to the Srimad Bhagavatam in this 16th chapter. In the previous chapter, we talked about how all of Parikshit Maharaj's family has departed, and now Parikshit Maharaj is starting his reign, and he is traveling over his kingdom to oversee what is actually going on. And what he sees is actually a very sad situation. And this is one of the things that he sees is Dharmaraj, who comes in the form of a bull. He's talking to the unprotected cow, which is Mother Earth. And it is the earth is coming as a cow. And if you look at the first verse, we'll kind of break the verses down step by step. And he's saying, are you feeling compunction? So compunction, we can look up in the dictionary. Compunction means a feeling of guilt or moral scruple that prevents or follows the doing of something bad. So basically like misgivings or worries, because unhappy women and children who are left forlorn by unscrupulous persons. So if you look at just naturally in the age of Kali, there's two things that happens. Four things that Srila Prabhupada mentions are four people that get neglected when religion is prominent in society. Four prominent things, and those things are actually so influential, they corrupt society very fast. And in turn, if you want a successful society, these four things must be done. Now, all world governments are trying to get pleasure and success by trying to exploit these four things. And if they exploit these four, by exploiting these four things, they're actually digging themselves a bigger hole than they're actually in. An example can be given, like Srila Prabhupada used to give, is like the camel. Camel goes in the desert and he sees nothing to eat. He's looking for something to eat. He doesn't see any rasgulla or gulab jamun. The camel's walking, and he sees, there's one nice plant over there. Let me go eat this plant. And what plants are in the desert? There's only the cactus plant. So he sees the cactus plant and he's like, okay, let me take a bite. Ow. He takes a bite of this cactus plant, and then the thorns of the cactus plant are piercing the tops of his roof of his mouth and his tongue, and the blood is gushing down his throat, and he's thinking, wow, the taste of this cactus plant is very good. So, but actually he is hurting himself. So just because by the world exploiting these four things, the world is thinking it's making progress, but actually it is putting itself behind. And these four things are things that get abused when there's irreligion in society: are women, children, brahmanas, and cows. And we'll break down actually why those are very important. If you look at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, one of Arjuna's concerns of protests for not fighting in the Kurukshetra war was that religious family traditions will break down, and unwanted progeny will be Varna Shankara will become prominent in society again. And there's Varna Shankara means unwanted progeny that's not planned, progeny that's a disturbance in society. If you, it's the children and women are naturally the ones that have to be taken care of. There's a great philosopher named Confucius. He was a Chinese philosopher, and he said something very nice actually. He said, if you are planning for 1 year, you should plant rice. If you are planning for 10 years, you should plant trees. If you're planning for 100 years, you should educate children. Because children and young people are actually the next generation. So if you want family traditions and religious traditions and all these things to be passed down, then actually most energy must be given to the next generation, children. And actually that's the duty of the elder generation, is to pass whatever has been given by the previous generation on. That is actually the how parampara works, is by pleasing the previous spiritual master, you get empowered, and then you can pass it on. This is actually the principle. Yasya prasadhat bhagavat prasado, yasya aprasadhan nagati kutopi. So children, which as disciples means students, and students means children. That's actually what we're trying to do, is by being students of the Krishna conscious movement, we're trying to learn as nicely as we can the Krishna conscious philosophy, so we can pass it on to the next generation. And as soon as women are corrupted, there will be unwanted children, and along with brahmanas and cows. And why would we need cows and brahmanas? Brahmanas are naturally, brahmanas are poor. If you see a rich brahmana is actually an oxymoron. Oxymoron means like things that don't go together. Like it's like a sentence, like I'm thinking of an oxymoron, like sweet, salty, or like sweet Karela. Karela is naturally bitter. How can it be sweet? How can it have the flavor of salty, of sweet? So it's like something that goes together. So rich brahmanas are naturally meant to be poor would not be the word, a fitting word. It would be they're always maintained. They're because they're maintained in the sense that they have to have that independent vision. Brahmanas are meant to be independent. So if they can give advice, whether it's somebody who is a very doesn't have any money, he can give him Divya Gyan. He can even give rich people Divya Gyan. Because the rich person, if he starts paying and putting brahmanas in a salary, and then the brahmana might think, oh, I should give the king good advice, because if I give him bad advice that actually hurts him, then he won't come back to me and he won't sustain me. And then so that's the way the brahmana's thinking is polluted. But if a brahmana is actually a brahmana, he doesn't care whether if you're what is it saying in Gita? The Mahatma doesn't see the difference between a gold and piece of stone. They really don't see the difference. They're only there for the benefit of others. That's actually the real qualification of a brahmana. And for brahmanas, one of the natural tendencies, things they do that actually help society, is that they conduct yagyas, sacrifices. And for sacrifices, what has to be there? There needs to be ghee. there needs to be milk products, and milk products come from cows. And cows are actually naturally there. Srila Prabhupada used to say many, many times that actually you don't need much to live in this world. You don't need a 401k, you don't need a billion pounds or $1 million or anything like that. If you just have a cow and a little a spot of land, and you can live simply and you can make spiritual progress and go back to Godhead. So cows actually give so many nice things. They eat grass, the very simple vegan diet that they eat, and then they give milk, and that milk can be transformed into ghee, to yogurt, to so many types of sweets, and so many different types of things. And the cow only doesn't ask for anything in return. So that is why cow is one of the 7 mothers of Vedic society. So mother also, cow and women are considered to be mothers. So if these 4 things are neglected for, society will actually be in ruination. So it is very important for every single person to do what they can to protect these four types of people. Let's continue in the purport. Srila Prabhupada makes some very good statements. In this age, illicit a connection with women will render many women and children uncared for. Circumstantially, the women will try to be independent of the protection of man, and marriage will be performed as a matter of formal agreement between man and woman. In most cases, the children will not be taken care of properly. The Brahmanas are totally intelligent men, and thus they will be able to pick up modern education to the topmost rank. But as far as moral and religious principles are concerned, they shall be the most fallen. And you see this actually factually in society. If you look at, for example, Brahmanism is not necessarily of the body. But people who have some Brahminical background, people who are coming from Vaishnava family, and people who have been coming and raised in like a Vedic household, even if they reject Krishna consciousness or reject the Vedic society completely, they're actually do much better in their fields because of their memory power itself. So they can actually pick up modern education and modern scientific things very quickly. And because of the brain power, they have so much brain power. But actually, there's Svanusthithasya Pumsam Vishwaksena Kathasuyad Not Padayad Yadiratim Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. If our occupational duties don't actually invoke that love of Krishna or wanting to hear about Krishna's pastimes, Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. It is just useless work. This is the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2. So Prabhupada continues, education and bad character go ill together, but such things will run parallel. The administrative heads as a class will condemn the tenets of Vedic wisdom and will prefer to conduct a so-called secular state, and the so-called educated Brahmanas will be purchased by such unscrupulous administrators. Even a philosopher and writer of many books on religious principles may also accept an exalted post in a government which denies all the moral codes of Shastras. The Brahmanas are specifically restricted from accepting such service. But in this age, they will not only accept service, but they will do so even if it is of the meanest quality. These are some of the symptoms of Kali age, which are harmful to the general welfare of human society. So even though on an individual basis, a specific Brahmana may give up Krishna consciousness and go and use his education and brain power to be engaged in the service of material workers, basically. It is not for the welfare of human society. Human society needs Brahmanas. This is a graphic example, but for example, there's the chicken. If anybody's seen a slaughterhouse in India, there's on the roadside. I grew up in America. We don't in the slaughterhouses are very they're closed up. They're very far away because people don't want to associate meat eating with killing animals. They have that disconnect. Actually, there's a funny video online of people trying to slaughter their own meat that they're doing, and people can't do it. People are not able to kill animals. It's actually meat eating is actually quite disgusting if you think about it. Most diseases actually come from I'm not just talking about like physical diseases like cholesterol and heart failure and all these things. I'm talking about like viruses like mad cow disease. COVID had a very big role with animals. So anyway, animals are highly mistreated. And if you look at it, this is the gross example of, if you see in a slaughterhouse, society is running like a chicken with its head cut off. I have no private experience to this, but apparently if you cut the head of a chicken, the body is still moving, and the body doesn't know what to do because its head is off. So the body is just flapping, and this is exactly how society is going. It is just moving and is making money and making business deals, but actually it has no intelligence to see where is society heading. If I do A plus B plus C, I will get D, and then they'll just get a salary, take home, and that's all I stop thinking about. But then why am I getting a salary? What harm am I causing people? What is the overall impact of my actions? And if we look, if there are more people to act and think like that, necessarily the Brahmanas, it doesn't mean that everybody has to think like that. At least there should be a specific class of people that everybody consults, intelligentsia, the Brahmanas. If people consult them, they will give shelter and they can actually instruct the lower castes. Like Brahmanas instruct the Kshatriyas, they instruct the Vaishyas, they instruct the Shudras. Just like how there's Varna and there's the Ashrama. The sannyasis instruct the brahmacharis, the sannyasis instruct the grahastas, the sannyasis instruct the vanaprasthas on how to live their ashrama, how to live their varna properly. This is a little bit, I discussed about what are the 4 things that need to be protected, and the importance of protecting children, and to why it is very important to protect these things. And I talked about how it is very important to cultivate brahmanas. Before I move on to the next verse, I don't want to keep speaking just by myself. Is there anybody who has a reflection or comment? Reflection is basically anything that you heard that it's going to stick with you. Does anybody have anything before we move on to the next verse that they like to say?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my humble obeisances unto you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I just want to say that when you were reading the purport, and obviously also the text, and the text is 5,000 years ago, and the purport obviously Prabhupada wrote in maybe in 1970s, and it's so prevalent now. Whatever is written there, we can see the society just like it's described in the text and the purport. So it's so astonishing that, how Srimad Bhagavatam predicts what's coming in the future. And we can see society exactly like this. Like women are not protected, children are not protected, and the whole society, because of that, it's completely in a mess, you can say. So it's very astonishing. That's what I call.
Yes, this is it's an unfortunate situation, but don't worry, because we're in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's era. I heard one nice thing today, that because the Kali Yuga is very dark, the golden moon, Gaura Chandra, when there's a dark night and there's a full moon, that makes the moon look much brighter. So same when Kali Yuga is going so darkly and is going going the wrong direction, actually it's the prime time for the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just by chanting Hare Krishna, that's actually it's even described in Shastra that even demigods worship this Kali Yuga worship this age because of how simple it is to make simple spiritual progress. So yes, it's very dark and very sad, and how women and children are being treated. But just by, we don't even need any thing to sacrifice or anything. We can just simply do the, Prabhupada says so many times in purple. If you read Srila Prabhupada's books, he says it and again, is that nowadays, I'm paraphrasing, nowadays people are not qualified to do such sacrifices. So everybody must do the Sankirtan Yagya, namely chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and all yagyas will be completed. So that's our little, like, our savior.
Light at the
Light.
end of the tunnel.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. I just have a question on this one. Like also we read that by the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because this is the Yuga Dharma, this is the yagya of this Kali Yuga, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There will be, like if we chant the Sankirtan, if we do congregational chanting, then the sun will be shining, and then the water vapors will be forming rain, and it will rain, and that's how the crops will grow. How do we understand it, because of, we are constantly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, but how do we make other people understand this, the non-devotees understand this, that by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there will be rains and crops will grow? They will think that we have gone mad, because science will say, how does your mantra chanting will enable rain to happen? Like obviously the whole Europe was burning, and America was burning. It's just global warming, and everything is going topsy-turvy because of weather changes. So how do we make people understand by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, every weather will be all right and crops will grow, and because crops will grow, then everybody will be fed and everything will be all right? How do we make people understand this?
So honestly, Mataji, when I think about it, Krishna consciousness, it makes sense so much it doesn't make sense. And then if it doesn't make sense, it makes sense. It's almost like that. Because if you think about it logically, there's not a lot of the things we do is not logical. If you think about it, that just by chanting the Maha Mantra, rain will come, and Kali Yuga will be changing the course of society, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just by doing the Sankirtan movement, will be doing it's almost illogical. And if you look at this is like for example, I heard Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu say in London, this is like mission impossible. Devotees have no money, and but actually, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is guaranteeing it, then the goal, it's almost guaranteed. So I don't know the science of, I know there's one nice devotee in Ujjain. He's an IIT professor. He's working on the scientific basis of Mahamantra meditation and what it does for people's consciousness. And I've seen him do that. He's doing some research on that, but I wouldn't know how to answer that. If you're a non-devotee, how is Mahamantra chanting going to help you in producing rain? I can say just by Mahamantra chanting, the consciousness of society will be changed, but I'm not sure exactly. I don't want to speculate anything either and say something incorrectly. So you would have to refer, I think you should refer to maybe Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu or Divyanam Prabhu about this. My apologies, Mataji.
No problem, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Just very, very quickly, Prabhuji, just a query based on Mataji's query. Is because the rains and whatever happens in the nature, it's all part of the threefold miseries that we suffer being in the material world. Adi, Bhautik, Adi, Daivik, and Adhyatmic. So the rains and whatever happens, it's all I mean, do correct me if I go wrong anywhere, but it's all it all comes from the blessings or the mercies of the demigods who are in charge of the rain or the sun, or so, and if we do please them properly, that is when they come. So I was just thinking, because the demigods are all devotees of the Lord, by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, you are by default and automatically you are pleasing the demigods. And if you're pleasing the Lord, if you're serving Krishna, you are pleasing the demigods, and when they are pleased, they shower the earth with rain or a good weather. So I'm kind of thinking in that way, but I could be very wrong, Prabhuji and Mataji. But just thoughts about that.
This is the correct understanding, that by doing Sri Krishna Sankirtan, the demigods are pleased and they shower rain. I think I was more that if we're talking to maybe an atheist who didn't believe in Krishna or the demigods or anything, how would we prove to them that Mahamantra chanting will bring rains? I would have to do some more research about it. But
Sure.
I think,
Hare
but I
Krishna
think-
is that, Prabhu. Thank
yes, go ahead.
Paragraph. And just to mention, because once in America, part of America wasn't raining so for some time, and of course the devotee always come forward. They said yes, with the holy name there will be rain, and there was kind of they started chanting and the rain came, and it was all actually. It was in the news, and it was people realized that yes, that's a practical application of the, chanting the holy name. It can happen. So it was recorded. So,
Oh, wow. I think
yes,
I remember hearing a book distribution story.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add or share to this?
Also, you being such a young Brahmana and coming, and more, I wish there are more Brahmanas like this coming and speaking. You are such a young boy, and it's really, it's wonderful. We are very proud of you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mata. We're always seeking the blessings of the Vaishnavas. I'm not a Brahmana. I'm not anything like that. I'm just, I was just asked to serve the Bhagavatam. I heard His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj was in New York recently, and he said that if you ever get the chance to serve the Bhagavatam, you should never say no, because there's no higher occupation than this. The highest occupation is to serve the Bhagavatam. So, so I'm very happy to. It's actually, I'm not here to like preach to you or make you guys devotees. You're all greater devotees than me. It's just for my own purification that I'm engaged in this. So
Serving
thank you.
very nicely. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So we'll continue the next verse. On with the age of Kali, and Prabhupada is describing more and more about the age of Kali. So let's see what Srila Prabhupada is saying. The so-called administrators are now bewildered by the influence of the age of Kali, and thus they have all put the state affairs into disorder. Are you lamenting this disorder? Now the general populace does not follow the rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, and etc. And they're inclined to perform such anywhere and everywhere. Are you happy because of this? But so I would call to attention that Srila Prabhupada is saying there are four things that people are not following right now. And it's maybe that this is the cause of the lamentation of Mother Earth, is that people are not regulated in their eating and their sleeping, their drinking, and their mating. So it cannot be said that these things are inherently bad, because everybody has to eat, everybody has to sleep, everybody has to drink, and everybody has to mate, at least subtly, So these things are, it cannot be considered bad, and nobody can be said that they're completely free from all this. I would pull up, there's a nice praman from the 11th canto, I found this very amazing verse. Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture actually on this, Canto 1, Chapter 16, Text 21, and he's pulling up this verse, 11:5:11. Loke vyamisha madhya seva nitya hi jantor na hi tatra chodana vyavasthitis teshu vivaha yagya sura graher ashu nivriti ishtha. So Prabhupada, this verse is basically saying, actually, it's if you ever go to a nice person, like maybe a nice Hindu person, Indian person, and they're engaged in meat eating, they actually may actually have some praman. They may say, actually, in this in Purana, it says that I can eat meat. I can eat goat. I can eat chicken. As long as I don't eat cow, I am fine. And then they may say, oh, actually, in this Purana, you can drink. You can drink alcohol. You can drink. You can do this as long as I do this, and then I can. People may say, what is the problem with sexual intercourse? It is nature's most basic pleasure. What is the problem? And they may quote some pramana from this sutra, Kama Sutra, this and that. And as practitioners of bhakti, we may say, actually, if it's in the Puranas, how can it be wrong? It is not incorrect because it's coming from Vyasadeva. They may be quoting Garuda Purana, Padma Purana or something, and then, or some other Purana. And how can you may be bewildered and say, if Puranas are saying that meat eating is right, then where is actually the verse that's saying meat eating is wrong? This question may come up. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam answers this question. Why there is an answer? Why is in Shastra? Why are there shlokas that allow meat eating? And this is the answer that Vyasadeva gives. In this material world, the conditioned soul is always inclined to sex, meat eating, and intoxication. Therefore, religious scriptures never actually encourage such activities. Although the scriptural injunctions provide for sex through sacred marriage, for meat eating through sacrificial offerings, and for intoxication through the acceptance of ritual cups of wine, such ceremonies are meant for the ultimate purpose of renunciation. Look at the last word, ashu, of these, nivriti, it's to stop. That is the ishtha. The ishtha is to have nivriti, stopping these things. So there's controlled meat eating, which is the place of a Shudra, and then there's the uncontrolled meat eating, which is the place of a mlecha. This is Prabhupada's definition. So an uncontrolled meat eater is what we see generally in society. That you see in grocery stores, you go and see cow, and they don't have any time, sacrifice place. But then there's the controlled meat eating, which is actually given in Shastra. And actually, Srila Prabhupada mentions in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya that they say a specific mantra. If you go to these places where they sacrifice goat during Kali Puja, they whisper a mantra into the ear of the goat that says, "Dear goat, I am killing you now. I am sacrificing you to Kali Ma, but don't worry. In the next life, I will be killed also." So, and you may be thinking, how can the Vedic scriptures are so brute and very mean? But actually, if you keep saying this mantra, an intelligent human being must think, wait a second, in the next life, I don't want to be killed by a goat. How this must be feeling for the goat. So that is why these rituals are given. This meat eating, intoxication, sex, it's everybody has the desire to do these. And the scriptural injunctions give allowances for these things, but in control. But one must always know the prayojan. There's the prayojan, the ultimate purpose of this is to stop all these things. Stop this gross sense gratification. And it's not just to control these desires, but to purify our desires. Tapo divyam putraka yena shuddhyat sattvam. is that we have all these desires. Okay, I desire to eat meat. I can control my meat eating by doing this, but I know I have to give up this meat eating anyway. What do I do to get rid of the taste of this meat and this liquor or this sex life? Actually, it's what does it say? Raso varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. One must seek that higher taste by which one will never return to the lower taste. For example, if I give one small boy, if I give him one gulab jamun, and then if I give him the next time I see him, I give him 2 gulab jamuns, will he ever go back to 1 gulab jamun? He'll always be taking 2. This is just a gross example, but the point is that one will get the higher taste. One doesn't. I had in our old temple in my hometown, there was a nice squirrel, and we named him Arjuna, the squirrel. And in the beginning, Arjuna would just come around. He would come every day for breakfast time, and we would just be sitting in the front place in the grass. We'd be taking our prasad, and the squirrel would come, and then we give first. I remember the first time we gave him just 1 cashew. And he was thinking, oh, so nice, this cashew. And he's eating this cashew. And then afterwards, we like, okay, let's give him 1 apple, 1 piece of apple. So we gave him a slice of apple. He's eating. And every day he would come while we were in the temple. And we as kids, we were so happy in feeding him. And then we did it for 1 week. And then it was Sunday, and we had Sunday feast. And then he was sitting. And then one of my friends said, hey, let's give him a pakora. Let's see what happens. So we gave him a pakora, and then he's eating the pakora. Oh, so nice, so nice, so nice. Then Monday morning, we're eating breakfast. And then we try to give him an apple piece. No, I don't want. Not interested. I'm not interested in this apple. And then we're like, can we give you a cashew? No, not interested. Until we gave him a chapati or a puri or something, then yes, I'm happy. So little Arjuna, the little squirrel, he got the higher taste. So when we are cultivating these, we see these lower desires of wanting to eat meat, eating, drinking, or having illicit sex. We must cultivate higher desires, and that is the way to completely purify these desires. So, for example, by eating meat, you can take Krishna Prasad, and so many people have created so many different things that actually stop these desires, stop this meat eating and drinking. Drink. There's so many nice other charnamrit that can gradually purify you, and even sex life. Krishna says, he says, Kamosmi, I am sex life that is not contrary to religious principles. So it's not a bad thing to have sex life. Prabhupada said that, but have it according to religious principles, which is in the institution of marriage. So that is the understanding that is given in this verse. Let's continue. The human being has to fulfill such desires, like not like animals, but like a human being. A dog can mate with a bitch before the public eyes without hesitation, but if a human being does so, the act will be considered a public nuisance and the person will be criminally prosecuted. This is very interesting because if you've ever seen an animal being born, has anybody seen like a big animal, like a cow or a horse being born? You can raise your virtual Zoom hands if you have a cow or a horse. Yes, yeah. So if you've ever seen a cow or a horse being born, immediately that horse or a big animal, the horse immediately stands up. Within maybe like a few minutes, the cow is like walking, maybe like a day or two, or like maybe in a couple minutes also sometimes the cow is standing up and it's walking and running. Now, if any of you have children, you will know that how long does it take? Maybe you guys can put in the comments. I'm not a mother or a father. I don't have any children. How long does it take generally for a baby to start walking?
It takes about 2 years.
2 years.
Mm.
About 2 years for
1.5 years. Mm.
1.5 years. Yeah. And if you look at it, so how can Krishna make it like that? If we were like living like cavemen, we see like Tarzan movie or something. If a baby is born like in a Tarzan or in like the Tarzan, we're living like animals. Actually, a baby's so vulnerable. It can't walk, can't defend itself. If there's a predator or something, can't run. It's just at the mercy of the mother. And what is the biggest part of the baby? I've asked mothers, is that a lot of babies, the head is the biggest part of the baby. And it's the last one that comes out. And if you so if we just look at it on a physical platform, animals are meant to work, like cows or horses. They're working animals and they have natural predators. So that's why they're able to walk and run in the first couple minutes for a couple days. But humans, because of our brain capacity, we're able to think about higher topics. We're not meant to just work like animals or like horses or cows. We're meant to think and be actually more intelligent. So if we're misusing our intelligence to actually just live by animals, Krishna at the end of life, Krishna says in Gita, Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati mad bhavam. What is your bhava at the end of life? If your bhava is that of an animal, you have worked like a animal your whole life, you have only worked for sense gratification, and you've only desired to increase your sense gratification at every moment, Krishna will just think, why did I give this person a human body? He'll be much happier actually in an animal body. I was just hearing Prabhupada's quote that animals can have intercourse and can be naked their whole lives. Many times they can do it, but humans are not meant to do that. Humans are meant to think on a higher platform. So that is why it's so important for us to not just be slaves to our own senses, but to think about these higher topics. Let's just go through this purport a little bit more. The human society avoids such rules and regulations when it is bewildered by the influence of the age of Kali. In this age, people are indulging in such necessities of life without following the rules and regulations, and this deterioration of social and moral rules is certainly lamentable because of the harmful effects of such beastly behavior. In this age, the fathers and the guardians are not happy with the behavior of their wards. They should know that so many innocent children are victims of bad association awarded by the influence of this age of Kali. Yes, this is the unfortunate situation that so many innocent children are have bad association. And actually Kali Yuga has created one of its tools. It's like a knife. You can't say it's bad or good, but it's used for a lot of bad, is in the internet. No matter if you keep your child at home, give him a good lifestyle, good this, just 1-2 clicks on the phone and bad associations right there for you in the form of YouTube and so many different internet sites that promote so many different types of philosophies and types of enjoyment. So, and we're given an example of this in Ajamil. The innocent son of a Brahmana was walking down a road and saw Shudra pairs sexually embracing. This attracted the boy, and later on the boy became a victim of all debaucheries. From a pure Brahmana, he fell down to the position of a wretched urchin, and it was all due to bad association. He was a pure Brahmana, and just because of association. My mother used to tell me when I was a kid, is that show me your 5 closest friends, and I will show you your destination, who you'll be in life. And this is not just for children, ladies and gentlemen. This is for every one of us. Now, who is our 5 closest friends? If we look at who are we spending the most time with, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. So many, that's what people are spending time with. And people are spending time with BBC, CNN, Cartoon Network, ESPN. so many different, and in India, there's like Sun TV and so many different, you're spending most of your time with there, and you will become like that. This is the natural way of how things work. From a pure Brahmana, he fell down to the position of a wretched urchin. There was but one victim like Ajamil in those days, but in this age of Kali, the poor innocent students are daily victims of cinemas, which attract men only for sex indulgence. The so-called administrators are untrained in the affairs of Kshatriya. The Kshatriyas are meant for administration, as the Brahmanas are meant for knowledge and guidance. The word Kshatrabandhu refers to these so-called administrators or persons promoted to the post of administrator without proper training by culture and tradition. Nowadays, they're promoted to such exalted posts by the votes of the people who are themselves fallen in the rules and regulations of life. Srila Prabhupada said that, that in democracy and voting for rulers and things like that, it's not the donkey-like people will elect the donkey that brays the loudest. So people who don't know the aim of life, they're being elected to their position, and they actually are deregulating. Or now in America, in a lot of states, especially I'm in New York City right now, marijuana is illegal, this is legal, that is legal, and so society is just gradually falling into itself in the name of freedom and trying to make things more egalitarian. They're actually degrading themselves, and it's becoming harder for people to take the spiritual life. How can such people select a proper man when they are themselves fallen in the standard of life? Therefore, by the influence of the age of Kali, everywhere, politically, socially, or religiously, everything is topsy-turvy, and therefore for the sane man, it is all regrettable. So many non-devotees, actually, when they see the devotees on Harinam, they go out, when we go and chant on the street, they may actually say that we're crazy, that we're actually the ones who are not intelligent and we should go get a job or something like that. But we must be firm in Shastra and firm in our conviction by studying this chapter, the 17th chapter of the Bhagavatam, and mainly the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that actually we're not the ones who are crazy. Society has turned to that way. And by taking shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, and by taking part in what Srila Prabhupada has come to give us, this knowledge, that kind of Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyan Anjana Shalakaya. It's like my spiritual master has opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. So he has given us this knowledge to open up our eyes and say that actually we should stop suffering and actually feel bliss. Srila Prabhupada says in the beginning of the introduction of the Bhagavatam that the pleasure has come to the standard of cessation of pain. So if I'm pinching you, imagine I am pinching your arm, and I let go, and you stop feeling the pain of me pinching you. Is that called pleasure? So Prabhupada is saying that is the society's pleasure now, is that the cessation of pain is now their standard of pleasure. But actually, pleasure is something else. It is not just a cessation of pain. It is something ananda. That is a Sanskrit term. So this is the my thoughts on this verse, on how sense gratification, and how we talked about animals and how they're kind of born, and compare that to human babies and Ajamil, and how people are being degraded by internet. And then we talked about that just by taking shelter of the Sankirtan movement, all these things can be stopped. So it's 402 here. I think it's 402 plus 5, 902 there. If anybody has any quick questions, feel free to leave. I know we're over time, but if anybody has any questions, or comments, take it from there. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful class. Thank you so much. In the society, I mean, the politicians, why, I mean, are they all in mode of ignorance and a mode of passion? Because they don't come up with policies which give children moral education. It's always the other way around, you know, giving children too much freedom. And I've seen in like I've been educated in India, and then I have, you know, I've trained here to be a teacher, and I've seen that it's so much freedom to the children. It's like you can't say anything to them. Whilst when I was studying in India, it was always teacher-led education, teachers always saying to us what to do and what not to do. It was very much regulated moral education, but here is just the opposite. Give children the freedom, the teenagers the freedom, and then they will learn by their mistakes. I mean, it's just so opposite, and it's so topsy-turvy. It just makes me feel like, how come, you know, why they don't have any brain to understand that children should be taught to follow rules and regulations, not that they should be given the freedom and you can't say anything to children. It's just the opposite. It's very bewildering for me.
Yeah, that's what Hiranyakashipu felt like also, right? That his child should learn so nicely how to be politically strong and how to conquer dynasties and so many different things. And Prahlad was not interested in this at all. And his teachers tried to teach him, and he's like, oh yeah, fine. I like to dominate. But then his father put him on his lap and asked, oh, my dear son, what have you learned at your school? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So yeah, it's very difficult in one sense that you have to give children freedom, because if you don't give them freedom, they don't have the ability to make their own choices and make logical thinking. But in other sense, it's really up to the teachers and parents to actually instill morality and to instill culture and morals and principles that you value as parents. It's your job to give that to them. And now that's being given to the teachers, and who knows what the morality of the teachers and the morality of the educators are. So as parents, it's kind of like you're fighting an uphill battle, unless you go to a school like Avanti or Gurukul or something like that. But in America, we don't have any Krishna conscious schools, so that's a benefit in the UK. But yeah, that's what I was thinking. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, and the parents, like most of the children, like teenagers, their parents are in office, they are working, and they are just loitering about. That's what I see in most of the state schools here in the UK. It's just teenagers, you know, obviously with good educated families, obviously the children will be differently educated and differently kind of, they will have certain rules. But most of the state school children are just loitering about because their parents will come home at 7. So from 3 to 7, nobody knows what they're doing. So it's very topsy-turvy condition, and it's deteriorating day by day, and it's a very unhappy situation actually.
Yeah, that's the situation nowadays.
Hare Krishna.
Any other comments or thoughts of anybody, or questions or disagreements? If not, we can pause. We never stop the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam should never be stopped. We pause for today and we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you for letting me serve you all and allowing me to come into your sacred Sangha and share a little bit for my own encouragement. Please bless me that I can serve more this great literature and to serve the Vaishnavas always. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Wonderful class. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.